and welcome back to our channel and to the series on ECMA Script 2021, which is completely inspired by Chuck Tomasi and Aldicus. So I want to share deep thank you to them. Okay. So in today's tutorial, we will be looking into the Nullish Coalescing Operator. What is Nullish Coalescing Operator? So the Nullish Coalescing Operator in JavaScript is a fantastic feature for handling null and undefined values. Let's dive into the concept, okay, around the same and see how exactly it can be applied in functions and objects also to make code more cleaner and more efficient. So what is Nullish Coalescing Operator? The Nullish Coalescing Operator checks whether a value is null or undefined. If it is, the operator returns the value on the right side, otherwise it returns the value on the left side. So you can see the basic syntax for the same is on the screen. So for example, let result value 1 and value 2. So what exactly is value 1 and value 2? So the value 1 is the value to check and the value 2 is the default value. If value 1 is null or undefined, then this particular value will be returned. So let's start with examples as we always do. So imagine you are at a party with various dessert options. Your first choice is chocolate cake, but if it's not available, you will have ice cream. So let's see this example with the code and without Nullish Coalescing Operator. So let chocolate cake is null if it's not available, okay? And so what dessert you will take? So it will be like dessert, chocolate cake. If it's not there, then it will return ice cream. So since chocolate cake is null, the OR operator returns ice cream. However, if chocolate cake was an empty string, the operator would still return ice cream, which might not be what you want. If we run this particular case out, it's written ice cream only with the null. Okay. Now let's try this. Try to iterate the same example with the Nullish Coalescing Operator. So I will just comment this thing out so that you can differentiate with the things there and there itself. And if we paste the code, so yeah, the same scenario, that chocolate cake is empty now. Okay. If I make empty over, let's try to make this empty over here. So if I try to make it empty, then also it will return the same output. I will just comment this for now. Okay. And if I run, it's still return ice cream. Perfect. So this is how it works with the OR operator. Now let's try to check with the Nullish Coalescing Operator. Now here what we are doing, in this case, because chocolate cake is empty string, not null or undefined, right? The Nullish Coalescing Operator returns an empty string. If I run this out, so it's empty. Okay. Let's take one more example. Let's say you are setting up an home office, okay, and you want to assign default equipments if specific items are not available. So let's understand this particular use case without Nullish operator first, and then we will see with the Nullish Coalescing Operator. Should I make it short? Okay, I will start telling NCO. Okay, from now. Okay, so let's understand this example without NCO. So if I paste the code over here, so what exactly is doing? So there's a function called setup office. It has two inputs, chair and desk. So if chair is not there, we can use the standard chair which is there at our home. Okay. If the desk is not provided, then we can use standard desk. And it will return the office setup. Okay. It's just returning a string. So let's try to run it out. And it states office setup with standard chair and standard desk. Perfect. If there are some values defined for it, for example, if I make it chair, okay. Sorry, my bad. If we do let chair equal to, for instance, table, I'm just giving random values. If I run, what's going on? Oh, I have to pass it over here. My bad. So if I paste it over here, I run, it will be like office setup with table and chair. Now, an empty string for chair and desk results in standard chair and standard desk, which isn't deal. Okay. Now let's try to understand the same example with nullish NCO. So I will just comment this particular code out. It's always between a difference between where to use NCO and where to use the OR operator. Okay, if you understand this, you understand this tutorial. So the same function setup office, it has two attributes, chair and desk. If chair is not there, we are just replacing it with the triple question mark, which is the NCO syntax. Okay. Standard change, we are just replacing the OR operator with the NCO operator. Okay. And let's see how exactly. Now we have two scenarios over here. If it's empty, okay, empty doesn't mean it's null or undefined, okay, all the time. So it should consider it as a valid output. It should not nullify it out. And in the second one, we have null and undefined two values. That means it's not present itself. So if we consider this out, if I run this out, let's see what we get. So in the first scenario, we get office setup is empty. That means both the strings are empty. Where exactly this is useful? For example, you have a chain hierarchy of function calling. For instance, something went wrong in the first code and it returned undefined value or empty value, then this operator is of great help. And you can see that in the second one, we have null and undefined. So null and undefined is a false value. That's why it has written the things on the right side, which is standard chain, standard desk. But empty doesn't mean that it's null and undefined. It's different from that. Okay. So the nullish coalescing operator allows the empty string to be considered as a valid input, while null or undefined values use the default. Makes sense, right? Now let's look into one more example around the same. I will just remove this particular thing out. Okay. Imagine you have a personal assistant robot that I have to bang my head a lot to create this kind of examples. So imagine you have a personal assistant robot that help you with your daily task. You can program it to greet you based on the time of the day. So let's look into the function around the same. So here it goes. So what exactly we are doing? We have a function called greet, which has two attributes, name and greetings. Okay. Greeting, if greeting is empty, then it will not. If it is undefined or null, then it will return hello. And that's what we are just greeting. And now we are trying all the use cases out over here. Okay. So if you can see the first one, greet user, it's Alice. So we are just passing the name. The other attributes is empty. Okay. It's not defined itself. You can consider it as it's empty only. In the second one, greet user, we have the first attribute as null. That means name is null. And the second attribute is good evening. Perfect. And the third one is .info, greet user. The name is provided, but the next attribute is empty string. So let's see how the output comes for all the three examples. So as you can see, in the first one, we have just passed one attribute. So it didn't consider the second attribute itself. Okay. So it's like, hello, Alice. Okay. For the second one, the name is empty. It's not empty. It's null. But the greet is good evening. So it just did good evening guest. Perfect. It took the second attributes from here. And for the third one, greet user, we have just provided the name. Okay. But with greeting, it's empty value, right? So empty value is not like it's false value, right? Sometimes you don't want to greet anyone. Okay. Your enemy came up. So in that case, you have just passed the empty string and it will just stay pop. Okay. So in this example, the robot greets you with the default greeting if none is provided. Okay. And uses guest if no name is given. Makes sense, right? Let's take one more example. Okay. Let's It's quite tricky to understand, okay, but it's very useful. Trust me, it's very useful. That's why I'm bringing up this kind of examples. Now, let's take one more last example. Let's use a smart home system to demonstrate how the Nullish Coalescing Operator can handle object properties. So let's first try without NCO, okay, how exactly it will go, and then we will see with the NCO. If I paste it out, so here what we are doing, we have an object called smart home, which has two attributes, lights and temperature, okay. If lights is not there, then if no value is defined, then it will give off, okay, it's a OR operator. If temperature is not there, then the default temperature is 22. Okay. Now let's try to execute it out, okay, using the function. So current status is light is off. Why off? Because this has null value, okay, it's off, and the temperature is 22. Why 22? Because the value is provided. That's why it didn't take the default value. An undefined or null value for light results in off, but the temperature default is 20. Isn't needed here since it's already has a valid value, right? So let's try to make this example more better using the NCO. Okay. So we'll paste the example for the same, and what you can see, the same object, lights null, okay, temperature 22. If lights is not defined, okay, in this case it will be empty, right? If it's empty, then only it will, if it's null or undefined, then it will consider as it will give the off, okay, and the temperature setting has the same, okay. Now if you try to iterate the same, okay, so here what I'm doing, light status, temperature I'm providing the temperature, okay, from the parameters. So if I run this out, it gives lights as off, okay. Why off? Because it has a null value, okay. That means it's a false value. That's why you're giving off. The nullish coalescing operator ensures only null or undefined values are replaced with default. It just consider null and undefined as a false value, nothing else. So in conclusion, we can say the nullish coalescing operator is a powerful tool for handling default values in JavaScript, especially when you need to distinguish between falsy values and null and undefined, okay. So next time when you are writing JavaScript, consider the nullish coalescing operator might be the better fit than the OR operator for your needs. Feel free to experiment with these examples and apply the nullish coalescing operator in your project to see the benefits in action. I started using it out and it's really paying me off, okay. So this is all for today's tutorial, okay. Thank you all and have a nice day ahead.